Christmas to everyone, at least soon to be Christmas. By the time next Thursday rolls around, Christmas will be a distant memory, and we are still having a webinar next week. If you are around the office and want to listen in, I am still holding one. I'll be here working through the chaos that is healthcare.gov. So again, next Thursday we're having it. If you can join in, great. If not, then obviously you can view all of the recordings from our website by going to our website, and actually I'll show you. On the right-hand side, lower corner, you're going to see the YouTube icon. You can click on that, and all of the recordings, whether it's from the Health Plan Options Department, Life Markets, Annuities, Senior Care Products, they are all on there for your listening and viewing pleasure. So let's get right into our agenda today. We are all still working through some of the issues with healthcare.gov. I have to say that things have improved, but there are serious glitches still coming out. For instance, there seems to be a pretty significant glitch with people that file separate taxes, such as your children. Obviously, we all know that if children if you have a child up to the age of 26, they can stay on your health plan whether or not they live with you, whether or not they're a college student, whether or not they're married, and whether or not they are offered employer coverage. So they can go on your plan, but the system, the healthcare.gov system, does not seem to recognize separate tax filers on the same plan. I don't know when this is going to get fixed. We've talked to the Health Insurance Marketplace supervisor team yesterday, and they said they're going to bring it to the attention of HHS, but I'm sure it's going to go in the long queue of things to fix on the site. But we are working through some of the issues. There are also some other issues. I've had people make application on healthcare.gov and they've not filed taxes previously, and will say that they are filing taxes in 2014 or for 2013 in 14, and it's not recognizing that they are able to get that subsidy. And the law does say that they don't have to file taxes, but if they get a subsidy, an advanced premium tax credit, they have to then agree to file taxes for the year 2013 in 2014. So again, issues that we're working through. Another issue is if you have children under 19 that are applying on the same plan as a mom and dad, they're basically saying the law says if you're eligible for Medicaid or CHIP, then you're not able to get a subsidy. The child is not able. There's no functionality in the system, in the healthcare.gov system, to add those children to the parent's plan if the parents choose not to have CHIP for their children. I'm working with the Pennsylvania Insurance Department to try to get clarification on what HHS deems eligible, because of course all children in Pennsylvania under the age of 19 are eligible for CHIP at some level, even if they have to pay for it. So again, working through some of those issues. They're still having problems with the payment functionality on healthcare.gov, and we are recommending printing off the congratulations screen once your clients enroll, to send that in with to the chosen carrier with the first payment. I've been requested. It's been requested to put the client's Social Security number on that billing slip, as well as on the memo portion of the check, so that they can hook up that check to the appropriate person. And there's also seems to be a grouping issue that we've experienced, where if you do have a husband and wife or multiple people in the family and they want to make application on different plans, if you choose to group them on healthcare.gov to enable them to choose different plans, that functionality still doesn't seem to be working. So, again, still a long list of issues to go through, but we're plugging away, and for the most part it has improved. One thing I wanted to talk to you about is the BORs, broker of record letters, or the signed Appendix C. I did create a Word document, a sample. It doesn't have to be anything spectacular. I would just use this format, and this format will be in my newsletter. And you know, the carriers are working through a process to claim these cases that don't have a broker attached, but until I get further details on that, it's just a good idea to get this letter signed acknowledging that you are the agent of record on Jane Doe's case, and it's important to put the effective date of coverage and the specific carrier, have them sign and date it. So again, this will be in my newsletter, but at this point, this is as good as we have. The next issue is the, excuse me, let me get back to this other issue, is the privacy disclaimers. And if you are doing enrollment online on healthcare.gov, there is a privacy statement associated with the application that your clients have to actually agree to. It is on healthcare.gov, and this will also be in my newsletter, but it's probably a good idea to have your clients review that just so that they know some of the issues associated with the security issues that we've heard about in the news. So, you know, again, it's not something that you need to worry about, but for good measure, you know, going into the CMA file, I would say that it's probably a really good idea to review the privacy statement with your client. And next, we are going to go to information on, for those of you that are dealing with the over 65 market, the Medicare senior market. Obviously on 12/7, your annual enrollment period or annual election period ended, and we're getting a lot of calls from agents now that didn't have enough torture working in the MA market. They want to jump into the under 65 market, and there's a huge opportunity in which to do that. But I do want everyone to be aware, as we mentioned before, that people that are not enrolled in Medicare and over 65 can qualify to enroll on the marketplace. And Highmark just came out with a Q&A that will also be in the newsletter, but just wanted to kind of quickly review it with you. Persons eligible for but not enrolled yet in Medicare can select a qualified health plan on the marketplace. Persons can drop their Medicare coverage and enroll in a qualified health plan on the marketplace, recognizing that Medicare penalties apply if they later re-enroll in Medicare. Persons who have a qualified health plan can retain that policy even if they subsequently become eligible for Medicare based on CCIIO's position that the qualified health plan is guaranteed renewable and does not trigger any issuer liability. So that's really a key point. And persons with Medicare cannot purchase a standalone dental policy on a federally facilitated marketplace, but such purchases can be allowed on a state-based marketplace. So that's just some information. Also, if you have foreign nationals that are traveling and here legally, obviously, they are not eligible for or enrolled in Medicare, so those are some opportunities that you may want to look at when you're going through some of the opportunities that you have to sell these plans. Wanted to talk a little bit about the cutoff dates because, and I'm severely messing up my PowerPoint today. Here we go. The cutoff dates for 2013 effective date and the plans for every carrier except Health America One, it is now closed. There was a little bit of confusion on the Highmark Blue Shield's cutoff date, and it was a miscommunication, misunderstanding, but originally the cutoff was the 15th for a 12/31 effective date, and we received information that it was pushed back to the 23rd. Evidently, there was something that was sent out immediately the next day saying, nope, this is an error, the cutoff's the 15th, but we're working through some of those issues, and everything we have currently we're submitting for the 12/31 effective date, but we cannot, from this moment on, accept any more 12/31 medically underwritten effective date plans with Highmark. So the only option for 2013 from this point until the 31st of December is Health America 1 for a medically underwritten program. Just wanted to make sure that that was clear. Also, cutoff dates for 1/1 effective dates on exchange and off exchange is 12/23. So that is Monday. So just be mindful of those cutoff dates because we have to strictly adhere to those dates. That's, you know, a compliance issue and an HHS guideline. So we have to adhere to those. If we cannot get those applications early enough on the 23rd, Monday the 23rd, they will have to push back their effective date to a 2/1. Still a lot of opportunity. I think a lot of people have waited. So I think 2/1 opportunities are going to be as prevalent as the 1/1 opportunities. So just be, again, mindful of those cutoff dates. Wanted to touch a little bit about the healthcare.gov and go back up to my first bullet point of what's the process. And I've created a PowerPoint that I'm going to be getting out to everyone, but I wanted to just take a few minutes and go through the process. Again, it's very it's very archaic at this point, but this is what you see when you enroll, when you go to healthcare.gov. And for a new client, you're going to want to go to the login button, and then you're going to create an account. This is the information that will show up when you create the account, first name, last name. This email address has to be one that's not already in the system. The email address is used specifically to activate the account that was created. So it's not like it's going to be used from this point on, but it has to be an email that is valid and accessible to your clients. So if you're doing it over the phone, they're going to have to tap into their email and confirm that an account was created, and then you can move on. If they do not have an email address, they can sign up for Gmail, Outlook, Yahoo, AOL. So this is something that you can do. And again, they're going to have access to that email in order to continue with the enrollment process. Once the account's created, then they accept the information, accept the terms and conditions, and again, your client will receive an email or 3. I've seen 1 and I've seen 3, and they must click on the link to activate their new healthcare.gov account. And again, that has to be done in order to proceed with the enrollment process. Next, once they log in, they're going to apply and shop for coverage for me and or my family. So this is the next step that they go to. They're giving you a little bit of information on what they're going to need, and they're going to have to verify identity and get started. This is another thing that your client is going to have to be available to answer. There are 4 identity questions that only your clients can ask. You know, did you previously live on any of the following streets? They ask about car loan companies. They ask about last 4 digits of cell phone numbers. I mean, there's a variety of questions that only your client can answer. Of course, there's always an option for none of the above in each of the questions. So the questions are kind of bizarre, and it's Big Brother at its worst possibly, but you know, they are just simply trying to verify that you are, or they are, the person that is actually applying. Identity questions, then you would go in and enter all of the information. For the Social Security number, In this section, it is optional. You don't need to enter it, but there is another section that also says optional, but you must enter a social there or you can't continue. For this one, I choose to be a bit rebellious and say they don't need social on this screen. So your first screen, you don't need to put the social, but everything else, email, first, middle, last name, and DOB is required. So they identify verify the identity, and then they start with the application. Again, they're giving information on what they're going to need: names, dates of birth, income information, Social Security. And here is the privacy information. So again, they have to click and agree to that, but if you click on the hyperlink to learn more about your Data and Privacy Act statement, it is a good idea, again, to review this information with your client and have them agree. If they don't agree, then they can't continue, obviously, but if they agree, they should be certainly aware of what they are agreeing to. Contact information needs to be put in, verifying home address and preferred phone number, phone type, and spoken language. Verify home address. This is where your information comes in as the agent or broker, and you click on agent broker. You put your first name, last name. Organization name is optional. I just say put in URL there. Again, it's optional. ID number, you can put in your national producer number in that section, the side organization name. And then the FFM user ID, that is your ID, and that is the login that you created, the username you created for the Marketplace.Medicare Learning Network site in which you took your certification courses, and of course your national producer number. This screen is for an authorized user, so you do need to click on a security question. I've never seen this in use other than to go through and answer the question as an authorized user for the client. And then they're going to talk about help paying for coverage if you want to find out if you can get premium assistance. I'm not sure why anybody would want to use healthcare.gov if they weren't subsidy eligible. It's pretty torturous, but typically it's always a yes answer. See if they qualify, and then they verify who you are applying for. You can add a person, family and household information, Social Security. This is where you need to put in your Social Security number. Again, it says optional, but it needs to be put in. They verify if you're a U.S. citizen or a national, and this is the question that asks if John Doe plans to file a federal income tax return for 2014, and you don't have to file taxes previously to apply for coverage, but if you check no, then you're not going to get a subsidy. You have to check yes, and of course then file taxes for 2014. They ask about underage children. They ask race, ethnicity. I, again, choose to be a bit rebellious and say it's none of their beeswax, so I don't answer these on behalf of my agent partners for their clients. I don't answer them. And they talk about if anybody is disabled or can't do any of the activities of daily living. Then they summarize the information that you put into the system. Then we get to the income. I know I'm going very quickly. I just want to be mindful of everybody's time. Again, this is going to be released. I just have to get it prettied up a little bit. And then they ask about income, if there's any income from any of these sources, and if the client pays for any of these deductions, alimony, student loan, other. They talk about current income, verify. There's a way when you put in the income that you can do yearly, you can do monthly, so that's in the screen. And of course, you can go back and edit any of these. Additional information, since this particular person said they were employed, not self-employed, they ask information about their employer. They also ask if they're eligible for any of the coverage that is listed here. be mindful of the individual insurance non-group coverage, or COBRA. Then they review and sign, talk about if they're incarcerated, and then they ask about determining the eligibility and using the tax returns for the next 5 years. Typically, we put that we disagree, and then a screen will pop up. We click on 1 year and then come back and hit agree, that they can use the tax information submitted for 1 year in order to determine eligibility. And they have to read and agree that all of the information they input is true and type in their electronic signature. Hopefully, once that's done, you see this screen where you can view the eligibility results. This is about a 12-page document that asks you about your, or tells you about each person and what they qualify for. And then you can continue to the enrollment, in which you see all of the plans, and then you can continue to choose your plan and through the enrollment process. There's a screen that's enroll to do list, and it prompts you. It lets you go down each section. The first one is setting the premium tax credit usage. They can determine how much of the tax credit they want to use, all, a portion, or none of it. And here's that screen. It tells you a little bit about it. Again, if they can choose to use all of the tax benefits or the advanced premium tax credit, or they can say, ooh, I'm not really sure if I underestimated my income, so I'm only going to use a portion of what subsidy determination was made each month. Or they can say, no, I'm not going to use any of it, and we'll just tally up when I file my taxes, and I'll get a credit. So this particular person and all that I have assisted with have all used it up front, and it verifies that the exact amount is going to be used. And then they talk about the fact that if you use all of it, you'll receive $0 as a credit on the income tax statements. We all know that because the advanced premium tax credit is just that. It's a premium tax credit that is given to you in advance. And then they ask about the cigarette use. After all of this, and their terms for cigarette use or tobacco use is within the past 6 months, have you used tobacco regularly 4 or more times per week on average, excluding religious or ceremonial uses? So we have a lot of fun with this question, but again, it is supposed to be answered truthfully. If they answer yes, if they truthfully answer yes, they can have an upcharge up to 50% on their premium. And you can see how it guides you through the system, selecting a health plan. They go through a little bit of a PowerPoint on the essential health benefits. This particular person chose this plan. You can see that it gives you the original premium and reduces it by the exact amount of the subsidy. And in this screen, you can see a little bit about the out-of-pocket max, deductible. You can view a plan brochure, an SBC, and also provider directory. This particular person was below 250%, so you can go in and select a cost-sharing plan. And all the cost-sharing plans are based on the silver plan, but it reduces the deductibles and out-of-pocket so that it becomes a 73, 87, or 94% level of generosity plan. So essentially you're getting a silver plan rate with above silver, gold, or platinum level of generosity. We're almost there, people. Just bear with me. And this is the confirmation that this is the plan they chose. And they read the disclaimers and sign off on it. This is the plan choice. Again, the selection and what they need to pay with the tax credit. They understand that they'll lose the premium tax credit if they're found eligible for other minimum essential coverage, like coverage through my job or Medicare. So that's important. This is the congratulations screen that I'm talking about that we print out and put in Social Security number in this section here and send this into the carrier with a check, and again, Social Security number on the check memo portion. So again, that's going to go out. So you have a guideline. I'm certainly willing and able to assist any of you with your first enrollment. We can do a three-way webinar with your client, yourself, and myself. You can come to the office with your client. I really want you guys to get familiar with the healthcare.gov system because, you know, when it works decent. I can't say it works well, but it works decent, and it still is the only way at this point to secure a 1/1 effective date since Monday is the cutoff. So now we're going to the submitted questions. I do have quite a few, and the first one comes from Denny. He says, why would you need exchange unless a lot of savings is there? Also concerns over navigators, correct info submitted. It's a mess. I couldn't agree more. It is a mess. The only reason you would go to the exchange, the federally facilitated marketplace, is if you know that your client is subsidy eligible or will be subsidy eligible in 2014. And that's when you need to enroll in the FFM because that's the only place you can claim that subsidy, of course. Ash asks a question, how quickly do the insurance companies get notified when an applicant enrolls in a plan on the healthcare.gov? Every night, people that enroll on the FFM, there is an 834 reporting form that goes to the chosen carrier. I've been told it's a nightly report that the carriers get, so it's within 24 hours, Ash, that they're notified, and what the carrier does with that and how quickly they turn that around to issue the policy, activate the policy, and get your client's cards out is a different story altogether. And again, without the payment functionality, a carrier cannot, without the payment functionality on the website, the carrier cannot activate a policy until premium is received. So keep that in mind. That's why they need to quickly turn around and get that premium in. Question from Mary Jo, how do we enroll people when one is on Medicare and the other is not and they are married? Should we just use the person without coverage and use the combined income? Yes. The way the subsidies are calculated, it is based on household size and household income. Of course, it is the subsidy is a moving scale on who is actually making application. So you're not going to get a subsidy based on a household of an income of 4 when only one is applying. You're going to get the appropriate amount based on the federal poverty level of that household in relation to the single premium. I know that sounds cryptic, but if you play around on the Kaiser Family Foundation, either on healthcare.gov or going directly to the Kaiser Family Foundation, you'll see how that sliding scale works. Jules asks the question, how can I tell if I'm getting credit for the sales that I am making through the exchange? Well, that's, you know, again, the million-dollar question, or again, the trillion-dollar question. And in a variety of ways, Jules, if you have somebody that made application, we're going to be collecting a list from everybody and trying to go through and verify with the carriers if they indeed have information on the enrollee. But other than calling the company and verifying, there's no way at this point until, unfortunately, it's too late. Obviously and ultimately, we'll be able to get all of the FFM information, enrollees, from commission statements, but they're not going to come in until February for January sales. Sue asks the question about defined contribution plans for small businesses in 2014. She wants to know if can an employer designate the defined contribution for benefits only, and can the employer receive a tax credit if they would qualify for it in all other ways for providing a defined contribution instead of a group health plan? Can the benefit contributions be pre-taxed? So it's a lot of questions, but I can tell you a few things. The employer, right now, the shop programs online have been delayed until 2015, but you can still get a shop program. You just have to let Elise or John know that you're requesting a shop quote for the specific group and provide the census. The carrier, in order to apply for that shop plan, shop-specific group plan, they are asking for carrier-specific applications, not the shop applications that were on healthcare.gov. And then the small business tax credit would have to be essentially claimed when they file their taxes. So the carriers don't take care of that. You don't take care of that. But there is a tax form that they would need to complete with their tax preparer in order to claim that tax subsidy. Now, as far as defined contribution, an employer can define an amount that they want to pay for each person for the single or family rate, but keep in mind it has to always not go under 9.5% of the employee's W-2 income for the single-only premium. So they have to be mindful of that. So that can be done off exchange, or it can be done through the shop program. If an employer wants to have a specific stipend given to employees to do individual insurance, it has to, they can do that through an HRA or FSA off the exchange, but on the exchange, it cannot be done because it's considered double dipping. They can't get employer-sponsored health plan and premium assistance and also get a tax subsidy. They can't be more than whole. So, you know, there's a lot of different scenarios, and I've probably confused everybody, including myself. But Sue, if you want to talk a little bit about it in more detail, I'm happy to do that. Michelle asks if there are any good marketing opportunities that are still existing for open enrollment, and I can tell you absolutely. I'm telling you that there are people that have not applied for a 1-1, so 2-1 is the next obvious choice, and that's going to be here by next week. But as with all things, open enrollment, or this initial enrollment period, it runs till March 31st. So I can only imagine how many people will be coming out of the woodwork from 3/16 until 3/31 to get that last bid for insurance. So marketing opportunities absolutely exist. There are still people out there that need the insurance. There are people that are coming off the pre-existing condition insurance program, you know, the PA Fair Care. They're coming off on 12/31. That has not been extended for a state that has their own risk pool. There are people coming off of the guaranteed issue programs with the Blues carriers, not the special care. And then the next wave is when employer groups start to renew in 2014. There are a lot of them that are just going to give up a group model and go individual, you know, go send their clients or their employees to the individual enrollment section. And that estimated number is supposed to be between 50 and 100 million. So again, there's a lot of opportunity out there. And last submitted question is open enrollment only associated with the marketplace? And they have a client who is with Capital now, which is grandfathered, but is interested in moving to an off-exchange plan in July. And would this be allowable? First of all, for any new coverage that falls outside a qualifying event, the last day to enroll for on-marketplace and off-marketplace is March 31st. Outside of that initial enrollment period, they have to have a qualifying event to change their plan. With Capital Blue Cross plans, those plans in existence that are in existence now are going to continue until November 30th of 2014. At that point, they can come off that plan and enroll in a PPACA plan, but for your particular person in July, unless there's a qualifying event. They can't just say, well, you know what, it's mid-year, July is a good time for me, I'm going to now terminate my coverage and look elsewhere. That's not possible because they would have missed, just like Medicare, their initial enrollment period. So those are all of the submitted questions that I have. As always, if you have any questions that you want to type in, you can go to the questions section to the right of your screen and type in a question, and I'm happy to answer it, or raise your hand, and it looks like we have some hand raisers, so let me see if I can get to those. Well, we have a lot of hand raisers that raised their hand and now have unraised their hand, so we'll go right to the questions that were typed in. And let me get to the first one. Jules asks, on the agent portion of the FFM, can you just enter your NPN since the other numbers are optional? No, I wouldn't recommend that, Jules. Enter your FFM user ID number. If you're in there, why not? The more information they have to tie you to that case, the better. Brian asks, how do we verify coverage if app was done over the phone? Call the carrier or healthcare.gov. You need to call healthcare.gov, and there are a lot that were done over the phone initially that have fallen through the cracks. So I would say get on healthcare.gov. Call healthcare.gov ASAP. You're going to need your client's name, their social security number. They're going to have to verify that you're able to be given the information over the phone, and you're going to have to, healthcare.gov will let you know if they have that application or if you need to reapply. At this point, if they don't have record of the application, which is definitely possible, go to healthcare.gov and secure that coverage. Don't wait for them to get back in touch with you. Just do it. Jules asks, clients worry that they might lose some of their expected tax refund if they use all the ACA subsidy. Well, that's a possibility, Jules, but it's a choice that they have to make. You know, I guess in quotations, free money is free money, and it's gonna come from somewhere. So if they get it up front, then they can't get it again when they file their taxes. But again, their choice is theirs. Smoking is rated up to 50%. Does this rating increase vary by carrier, age, sex, all of the above? Is more detailed information about this available? It does vary by the carrier on how they filed their rates, but they can rate up to 50%. So there's really no way to verify this other than to run a tobacco rate on the exchange and see what it does to the rates. Jules asked what the multi-state Blue Cross plan is about. It is not brokered. All the Blues plans in the Blue Cross Blue Shield Association had to file a multi-state plan in the event that they have somebody that is not eligible for unless I'm tripping on my words. If the state has not set up an exchange. So at this point, Jules, ignore it. You can't sell it. It's not really there's really no circumstances in which somebody could even qualify for it, but it had to be filed by the Blues carriers because of their association. Mario asks. He says he's done a couple of enrollments, and I just have clients contacting the carrier to pay their first premium. Is that okay? Absolutely. Yeah, they should definitely, the payment goes to the carrier. It doesn't go to healthcare.gov or the HHS system. It goes directly to their chosen carrier. Mary Jo says, what do you do if they do not have an email address? When they do create an account, Mary Jo, there is a place that they can create an email account, but they have to have one in order to enroll. And once that email is used and associated with an account, it can't be used again. So if you want to use yours, that's not going to be a good idea. And Jules said clients get a screen that says they'll be contacted in a few days to make a payment. When does this happen? I don't wait for that to happen, Jules. Again, time is of the essence, and I don't trust that screen. Make a payment to the chosen carrier. And Trudy says, if someone is eligible for COBRA but they can't afford it, can they purchase insurance through the health market? And this actually has come up quite a bit, and it is a question now on healthcare.gov. And the bottom line is COBRA is considered a group health benefit, and as long as it meets the affordability factor, meaning that if the cost of COBRA that is passed on to the enrollee is still below 9.5% of their W-2 income, then it's deemed affordable and they cannot qualify for a subsidy. And it says, what happens if a person estimates their income for 2014 is over the FPL but is below FPL at the end of the year? Then what they can do is they would tally that up on their taxes. If they received a lesser subsidy based on what they put in, then they can tally that up on their taxes as long as the policy originated through the federally facilitated marketplace. If they underestimate their income and get more of a tax credit than they qualified for, there is a repayment that has to be done. And if they're below 200% of the FPL, they cap the payment at up to $300 for individual or $600 for family. If they're between 200 and 300% of the FPL and they underestimated their income and got more of a subsidy than they qualified for, they cap the repayment at $750 a single or $1,500 family. And if you're 300 to 400%, they cap repayment at $1,250 a single or $2,500 for family. So again, it's really important to be as accurate as you can on estimating that premium. But if you are uncertain, it's always better to overestimate your income rather than underestimating your income. And Mary Jo says, I enrolled yesterday over the phone, and during the call, this was sent to they sent something to the email address to complete. You know what? I'm going to give you a call, Mary Jo, because I don't see what you received, and I want to answer that question correctly. And Trudy says she missed the first part of the webinar, wants to know if there's a way to obtain a webinar copy online. Yes, absolutely. You can go to our website, url-insgroup.com, and on the bottom right-hand side, there's a YouTube icon, and you can view that or click on that and view this webinar and all other past webinars. Cutoff for 2-1, Rich asks, is at 123. At this point, Rich, it's 115. It was 12:15 for one effective date, but they did extend the enrollment for 1-1 till 12/23. I don't know that they're going to do that for 2-1, so at this point, 115 is the cutoff for a 2-1 effective date. Margie says, repeat that about a group plans that terminate mid-year. If a small group terminates their plan in July, would that be a qualifying event? That indeed would, because employer-sponsored coverage is no longer available. That's a qualifying event. Tracy says she has to ask again about Geisinger and NEPA. Did they give out commissions? Well, the good news is that 1/2 of those carriers you listed did release their commissions. Geisinger verbally did release their commissions for 2014 plans. So unless it changes, first year is 4.5% of the premium, and second year and beyond is 3%. So unless that changes, once we get written notification, that's where we're at right now. NEPA still has not released their commission schedule. I'm getting very nervous about that, but they keep assuring me that they're going to be releasing something soon. But The longer it goes, the more nervous I get. The good thing, too, about Geisinger is all of you that are working in the northeastern sector know that we were blocked out of selling their individual product up in the northeastern counties. The commission that I mentioned is no longer reserved to those 9 counties in south central PA. It is for all counties in their footprint. So if you're in Wilkes-Barre, Scranton area, wherever, and you sell a Geisinger individual health plan on and off exchange, first year, again, unless it changes, is 4.5% of the premium, and that's the total premium. Rod asks, if someone has applied already via healthcare.gov and didn't put agent information on it, can they go back to the insurance company and send in the BOR? Technically, Rod, no, but I would get the BOR just in case, because there should be a way to add an agent to an existing account, and HHS and healthcare.gov do not have that functionality. So I would say get the BOR, and more than likely it will be honored. But, you know, again, we don't have a definitive from the carriers on that particular scenario. But my gut is telling me that it will probably be honored. Ed asks, when a widow is collecting workers' comp benefits due to husband killed on job, what will the income be included in determining if a subsidy will be applied? For household size, obviously it's going to be based on her household size. Estimating income, it is all household income, and let me see here. Unemployment comp has to be included, retirement income, investment, pension, rental, and other taxable income. As far as not including income, there's no workers' compensation income that needs to be included, according to healthcare.gov. And Gar asks the question, what is the PA Medicaid income level in Pennsylvania? If a person applies for Medicaid but does not want to enroll into Medicaid, will they be allowed to enroll through an ACA plan through the marketplace, or will the marketplace send them directly to the state? That's kind of a loaded question. Right now, under our current guidelines for Medicaid, adults, you know, unmarried, single adults that are not currently pregnant, it's about 50% level, which is the FPL level, to qualify for Medicaid in Pennsylvania. That, of course, has been proposed to be expanded up to 133/138%. If a person right now qualifies for Medicaid, they can make application on the healthcare.gov or outside of healthcare.gov, but they will not receive any subsidy. You know, if they're Medicaid eligible, they can't get a subsidy. That's just bottom line. Right now, if they're below 100 and above the current Medicaid level, they're not Medicaid eligible and not subsidy eligible. So there's a huge sector of people that are affected by this that, you know, can't get any premium assistance. So that's a real tragedy in a lot of ways. You know, again, the governor has made application or made a proposal to expand Medicaid, but the last hearing, public hearing on that is not till January 9th, so I'm not sure what's going to happen if that moves forward. You know, what will happen retroactively for the people that fall into the cracks. So more news to come on that. Bill says, we have been recommending only using 75% of the tax credit for self-employed or those that qualify for a large subsidy but may have unemployment opportunities in the upcoming months. Better to be a hero than a villain. I would agree with that, Bill. And again, it's your client's preference. They just have to know, you know, what happens. Keith says, Deb was in income tax school Monday and Tuesday and learned the changes for 14. Interesting things were talked about in regards to paying back any excess premium assistance tax credits a client receives. And he says there's actually a cap on the amount the client would have to pay back. For instance, if a client receives $4,000 more than they should have and fall between 300 and 400%, they are capped at $2,500 or $1,250 for an individual. And yes, I agree that's good for everybody to know. I did mention it, but again, it's certainly something you'll need to be aware of. Margie asks, COBRA will continue in 2014? Absolutely. If the employer has an employer-sponsored health plan and somebody is eligible for COBRA, COBRA is available to them. That's not going to change. Sharon says, where is the payment to be to the chosen carrier to be sent? Do they provide address information? They do not, Sharon, but if you know the carrier that your client has applied for, we can help you with that address for sending in payment. Jules says, do you have the phone number for a client that a client should call for IBX or for Aetna? We do. I would say that you can, boy, it's going to be tough. I would just go directly to the site, Jules, and have them call the customer service number on the website. And Nate says, did I hear the carriers will be able to change individual prices quarterly? I have heard that, Nate, but I don't have a lot of details on that at this point. I know that the rates that they filed in May of this year are the filed rates. If a carrier filed for a quarterly trend, then they filed for a quarterly trend. I just am not aware of that, and I'll have to do a little bit of research to see which carriers did file for a quarterly trend and get back to you. So that looks like all of the submitted questions. I know we went a little long today, so hopefully you found this information helpful. We'll continue to offer these, as I always say, for as long as you find them helpful. And I'm going to sign off now and just say Merry, Merry, Merry Christmas to everyone. Hopefully you'll have some time to enjoy your family and your friends and the holidays. And I will be here Thursday the 26th at 9:30 for a webinar, so hopefully you can join me then. Thanks again. Bye-bye.